Hello, and welcome to this 92Y XYZ event with the cast of Single Drunk Female. I am incredibly excited to talk about this show. It's on Freeform. It is maybe my favorite portrayal of millennial community, sobriety, recovery. It's an incredible show with an incredible cast. Let's just get into it. Sheedy, who I don't think needs any introduction, plays Carol. We have Sofia Black-D'Elia, who plays Samantha, our lead. Mae Harrington, who plays Felicia, the hilarious and talented Felicia, as we'll get into it. Rebecca Henderson, who plays Olivia, a wonderful sponsor in the show. Sasha Compère, who plays Britt, another friend, I'll say, and Garrick Bernard, who plays James, and then our creator and executive producer, Simone Finch. I think that's everybody, right? Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me today. How are you all doing?
Great, right?
Good.
Yeah. You've obviously finished filming the first season. What does it feel like to kind of come down from that? Now you have this time to really dig into the show, how people are reacting to it. I'll start with you, Simone.
Well, the Boston-ness of it has been approved by the Boston gods, which is great. I keep getting, the only thing is we didn't have the orange line. We had an Atlanta train and it was on I checked Twitter, I'll admit it. Sorry, guys. And on Twitter, they were like, you should have gotten B-roll of the orange line. And I felt ashamed because I should have known that. So that's like been my biggest mistake thus far.
Yes. Felicia, yeah. Sofia, did you feel pressure to get that Boston accent right?
Yeah. So I'm from Cape Cod, Massachusetts, and my uncles all grew up in Cambridge, my mom and her brothers. So they all kind of still have it, which is great. And I could kind of always listen in. But it's totally one of those things where if you mess it up, Boston will take you down. So I was really nervous, but the Boston Globe, quote unquote, said I had a good accent, so I'll take it.
Good from the Boston Globe is like great anywhere else.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for those who haven't had the pleasure of watching Single Drunk Female yet, if you aren't aware, it is the story of Samantha, a brilliant girl who is incredibly talented, but maybe isn't aware of her talents as she realizes she also has a drinking issue, and she goes on a sort of journey of sobriety that I think stops and starts as you kind of get into the show. And I think it's a really wonderful portrayal. I kind of wanted to get into, Sofia, how did you kind of embrace this character? What was exciting about the role to you?
I mean, the people involved, the women involved were really exciting to me about the project. And the character just felt very familiar to me. I felt like I knew gals like this. I grew up with gals like this. I could kind of hear her voice in my head before we even started shooting. And I think that the show is just very sweet and wears its heart on its sleeve, which is sort of rare, especially in like the half-hour comedy space. So that was appealing to me as well. And I was excited by the challenge of the tone of the show, because I think it's sort of a weird line that we walk. Yeah,
absolutely. I know some have said it's like Gilmore Girls, but darker. It's just a really, I mean, to tackle such heavy topics, but I do want to say it is hilarious. Like there are just laughs a minute, and then you're also like, oh my gosh, I want to cry about this experience, even though you also want to kind of yell at Samantha. I think empathy is kind of at the core of what makes it work. And I think my favorite character, honestly, for the empathy, it has to be Carol. There's this moment where Olivia is like, well, Samantha's talking about how Carol is still dating someone that she's seeing, and Olivia says something like, good for Carol. And I was like, that is good for Carol. Like, I am cheering for Carol too. So Allie, I would love if you could talk about the mother figure of the show in bringing Carol to life.
Well, I'm glad that you're rooting for Carol, because working through Carol, I feel like she's a mixed bag. The relationship with Sofia, my Sofia here, is fraught, as is the relationship with Sasha's character, as is the relationship with Rebecca's character. So there's nothing easygoing as far as Carol, who's very spiky. But at the same time, I want to have my life going. I want to get my life happening. And then this disaster of a daughter blows up her life and has to move back in with me right when I'm just moving on from the grief of losing my husband. So very conflicting feelings through the whole thing.
Yeah. And you bring it to life so well. Like I said, I think viewers, you will really root for Carol, even when she is at her like most selfish, which I would love to get into with you, Sasha, and your character, Britt. Your character, obviously very interesting as sort of a friend to Samantha, a foe to Samantha. I don't want to give away too much, but there's obviously a lot of push-pull there. What was it like to bring that character to life? And what did you think when you first read that script?
I think it's so interesting because when I first read it, I related to Britt, like hardcore, just knowing, almost like what Sofia said, knowing girls like Sam, who were my friends and friends that I've had to sort of shut down. I loved her. I root for her as well. I root for all of them. I root for our friendship as well. And I think that the core to Britt is knowing that Sam has so much more work to do, and this time she needs to do it without me. And I know we have questions about going for her ex, but but I mean, there's so much backstory there and so much richness that Simone divulged with us and that me and Sofia talked about. And it's a situation where, you see someone so amazing in, or somewhat amazing in Joel and Charlie. And in the past, I think Sam just didn't appreciate him. So why can't I? I think now Britt is sort of saying, okay, this is my chance to, come forward. And she's not going about it the best way, but she's doing it. She's trying it.
Yeah, I like how everyone in the show kind of makes mistakes and can be called out in different ways. No one is perfect. I think a lot of times when we deal with narratives around sobriety, it's always kind of holier than thou, very kind of preachy, and that's not the case here. I want to kind of go back to, like I said, it's very funny, and what it does highlight is the 12-step program. Garrick and Rebecca, I would really love to get into that aspect. I find that a lot of times, we see this a lot in shows, like, okay, they have to forgive people, but the twist in Single Drunk Female was so funny and interesting, the way you two are introduced, the way you even deal with Samantha, which there seems to be very little patience, especially with Olivia's character. I love how stern she sort of is. What kind of research went into that? Were you familiar with sort of the AA process? What kind of research did you do to bring that to life?
Yeah, I'm not personally in recovery, but a lot of my friends are, family members. And I, with permission, listened in on some sponsor-sponsee conversations. And wait, what was the question again? What was the research?
Yeah, you have this really stern, empathetic character in Olivia. How did you bring that to life? What kind of things did you learn listening in on those sessions?
The only thing that can keep an alcoholic sober is another alcoholic. So that's sort of the basis of AA. And, one person who I talked to, she was like, from her sponsor, she was like, my sponsor said to me, basically, this is what I learned. This is what worked for me. And that's basically all I can impart to you. And if it doesn't work for you, then you should find another sponsor. So that was sort of like my basis for Olivia. And that's why she's stern, because she's like, this is what it is. It's kind of, there's no mystery, it's kind of simple. But I don't know. I also love Sofia so much. Rebecca, me personally love her so much. And I felt from our very first day of shooting that there was just a kind of like a soulmate thing between us. I think we'll probably be friends forever. And that really helped with the sort of how AA and how, some of the things I have to impart to her can be so black and white. It added, I don't know, there's a lot of love for her. So I was able to infuse it with a lot of compassion and empathy.
Yeah, I kind of wish she was just my sponsor in everyday life frankly.
I'll do it. Let's do it.
Yeah. And then Garrick, obviously our wonderful love interest who cannot quite be, it's one of those just like frustrating things. I thought it was captured so well in the episode where we really addressed Samantha's boredom.
Or boredom. Just like the fun way to put it, yeah.
Yeah, where it's just like the tension of like, yes, that's what it's like, you know, the when you're just like, I have so much energy and I don't know what to do with it. What was it like kind of knowing you were stepping in as this like romantic lead, but you had to really relate to her in a different way that again is, you know, very kind of keeping her on the right path, but also knowing you can't do too much?
So I didn't know I was the romantic lead. I thought I was just like some cool guy or whatever that was just, you know, hanging out or whatever. But no, I think it was like, it was a nice transitionary period. I had no idea that I was going to be this person. I thought I was just going to hang out. But I'm sorry, what was the question? I'm totally blanking on it.
What was it like to kind of realize the depth of the story was going to go into how James is also an alcoholic?
Yeah.
I also really love the storyline where we see him kind of deal with like these stereotypes of like male drinking, where the friends are kind of just like, just come to a bar. Like, why does it really matter that much? And the mechanisms he uses to face that. Which I don't feel like we've ever seen that really in a comedy. It's always just like guys being like, I love to play beer pong.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that he's just like secretly scared, you know, and so he overcorrects and goes on this regimented schedule in order to like, you know, plan out his day and how he'll feel like physically and mentally. So with all of those things, he does, you know, sort of miss out a little bit with, you know, playing beer pong and with his relationship with Sam. And yeah, I guess that's the gist of it, you know?
Yeah. And I also was really curious, the show, as it kind of grows, it really becomes a community dynamic, it feels like. It really isn't just Samantha's story. Simone, I was wondering if you could speak to that and if it was important for you to kind of have this grow out into all of these other people's moments and lives.
Yeah, I think it takes a village to get me sober, of both non-sober and sober people, but also these people have their own lives. I think when I first got into AA, I didn't realize, I thought everything revolved around me, you know, and I think the show itself reflects kind of the alcoholic view, which is at first it seems like it's all about Sam, and then we open it up to everybody. And I think that was true for me, is how I could see everyone. So even my mother, for example, who is Carol is based on, you know, I couldn't see her until I wrote the script. I was like, oh, she's not a human being. and then I wrote it and I was like, oh, okay, she is a human being. Got it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think there's a line Carol has that's something like Samantha saying, you know, this has been so disruptive to my life. And Carol's like, what about all of our lives while you were drinking, you know?
Yeah.
And I love how it turns that around. But I want to talk to Lily about the character Felicia. I would say if there's a community around Samantha, Felicia is maybe, I don't know, the tent pole of that. We see her really lean on her immediately. And she's such a funny character. Obviously, you get to sing in this role. I was so excited when we finally got to hear you sing. What was it like bringing such a funny, lively character to the show, who's also someone you kind of want to yell at a lot of the time and be like, come on, like.
Yeah, I remember getting the sides for this, and again, kind of similar to what Sofia was saying, just knowing I knew this girl. She was a friend of mine, still had the accent as well. And with her, I think internally, at least what I felt like I was playing as an actor, was that Sam stuck by Felicia in Felicia's hard years when she had a kid 9 years ago. And so I was always trying to carry that through. And that's why, to me, there was always this super strong connection with Sam, just like I am with my friends of 15, 20 years now. And that love always carried through further than the drinking, further than the partying. And it was really cool to, work with Simone and Jenny in kind of developing her badness with her goodness, and that push and pull that you might feel at the beginning of kind of wanting to shake her, and her being the person that, ultimately makes her relapse at the beginning. And the tricky line of, well, how do we keep her around and keep her supportive? And I feel like we were really able to find that. And she's so much fun to play. She's just so much love, that I always got to just give out to Sofia and Sam every day.
Yeah, the karaoke scene, it made me so emotional. I was like, I'm so glad they found their friendship. Oh my God.
I just want to say that nobody makes anyone relapse. It's a choice that the person makes. So do not blame Felicia for that.
Yeah, don't blame Felicia when you're watching.
Don't blame Felicia, people. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
Sofia, I would love to talk about Samantha's introduction in the pilot. I think when you first start watching, it's kind of this traditional, like, fun. She seems kind of like Fiona Gallagher-esque. You're like, oh, she's gonna drink and handle this and be a badass. And then it quickly goes the opposite direction. You kind of lose faith in her almost immediately in the pilot and realize, oh, this isn't that same kind of story. For you, I love The Mick. It's one of my favorite shows. It kind of reminded me of, obviously, the wild things that happen in that, but if we actually had to deal with the realistic consequences of that kind of drinking. So again, I just would really like to sort of get into Samantha as a character. What was it like for you to craft her story around sobriety, and where did you find sort of the funny moments in the script? Where were you like, okay, here's something where we can show people this isn't just about, sobriety. This is maybe an area, I would say, like, for example, the masturbating scene, where I think some of the, like, the genuineness of who she is comes out.
Yeah, I think that in the pilot, it was sort of easier to find the moments of funny because I'm very sort of like, I drive the action in a lot of ways, whether it's the scene with Glazer and I come in really hot. And I sort of, because of still being drunk, sort of force the physical comedy in that way. As Sam gets sober, I found it harder and harder to find the funny, because she becomes much more of a reactionary character. And so I tried to very much just play off of my lovely cast and let them sort of drive things in that way. And, especially someone like Lily, who can come in and have so much energy. And I think her character is a lot freer than the other characters in the show. And I think more confident as well. So whether it's, me being jealous of that or just sort of being so enamored with her, which I am, and getting to use that for humor, I think I tried to lean on that more as the show went on. But it was challenging, honestly, because I think she becomes somebody that you can pretty easily laugh at, from that to the person that you sort of have to root for and genuinely want to get better. And I don't know, that kind of sincerity personally for me isn't very funny. So I had to figure out like how to do it in a way that felt truthful to the character in the story, and try to remain grounded with it.
Yeah, I mean, there's such amazing range in the character. I felt, like you said, there were moments I just wanted to laugh at her. Even when she's sober, like the wedding dress, I was just, again, so funny. There's moments when you're cheering for her. It's brilliant. And Simone, again, obviously you're the one who based this on your life. You came up with the idea in 2012. But it's incredibly relevant after this like quarantine period we had where we saw like people finally saying, maybe it's not normal that I drink like 2 bottles of wine like every night. Finally, it seemed like younger generations were realizing alcohol isn't really what we need. And it just happened to like line up with this story. Did that kind of change anything for you once you started shooting, once you kind of saw this turn, even, like in Just Like That, they tried to introduce very quickly a sobriety plot that they really did not handle very well. It was just kind of like, she dumped it all down the sink and now it's all done. So you actually, have this show that goes into it. Were you just kind of like, wow, that just happened to happen?
It was a weird, it's as if I like knew that this was coming. I'm kidding. But I don't know. It's a weird situation because I have been sober throughout the whole pandemic. So I don't know what it's like, honestly, to drink at this time. But many people around me have said to me, Simone, I think I might have a problem. And I say, well, if you can cut down, you should be okay. And most of the people can, which makes them non-alcoholics. But the quarantining movement, I watched it as a sober person and I was a little jealous, to be honest. But I also was like, you know what? I'm glad that I don't have to do that. But it does align with this show in a weird way. The thing that I didn't include was the sober curious movement. And
I would say you did include
I did.
I would say that element is taken care of.
Freudian slip, you guys, Freudian slip. But the sober curious movement is really interesting to me because I don't quite, as a sober person, understand it. So I think that's aligning with the pandemic in a really interesting way. And maybe if we get a season 2, we can talk about that. I don't know.
Yeah. I also would like to kind of get into the diversity represented in the cast and in Samantha's AA group. I feel like usually you see these kind of like older portrayals. Even if you look at, Euphoria, which is so fun for the kid, it's still like you're going to this like AA where everybody's like 45 years old. But this felt like, oh yeah, these are my friends. I love Mindy in the show, played by the wonderful JoJo Brown. How important was that for you to kind of capture, Simone?
By the way, sorry, I just feel like we should make a poster for Euphoria that says "So fun for the kids." So fun.
So fun for the kids.
They really need our help, like promoting the show.
They do. They do.
Sorry.
No, Emily Nussbaum tweeted the other day that Rue should go to the rehab that you go to in Single Drunk Female. And I was like, yes. Anyways, so no, the AA groups that I have belonged to have been diverse. And also the clubhouse that it's based on in Malden is also diverse. And so I felt like I had to portray that. And again, I also want to show that alcoholics come from every rich, poor, black, white. I think it's, addiction runs through all cultures, really. So I think that was also really important to show. And it's true. Unfortunately, I think there have been a lot of male, white dominated addiction stories, and I'm kind of bored with it. So yeah.
Exactly. And so we kind of touched on, Euphoria, these sort of important presentations in media of like abuse and drinking, especially for younger people and teens. To me, I think Single Drunk Female is one of those shows that finally captures that for people in like their 20s and 30s. But growing up, I obviously would watch The Breakfast Club over and over again. And I was like, oh my gosh, these kids get it. Like, wow, I like want to steal smokes from my dad, and for me, it just resonated. I saw myself in those characters. So I am curious, who would your character in the show relate to the most from The Breakfast Club? So who would Samantha see herself in? Who would Felicia see herself in if you've considered? Very curious for Carol, Allie, obviously.
Oh, that's so interesting. I guess I find well, they're in high school. So I guess the age there's a pretty big age gap, but just me personally, Sophia, I've said this to Allie many times, but like she made being like a weirdo brunette very cool. So I Absolutely. Would love to see myself in you, Allie. It would be a dream come true.
I feel like that Samantha would be like, that's the cool answer. Like,
Yeah. I feel like Sam. Yeah. I agree as a brunette.
Yeah. I feel like Olivia would be very like, that's the character. Very cool. Again, by the rules. Very like, yeah. Garrick.
Definitely my boy that puts his fist in the air at the end. I just want to be a cool guy. I don't know. I know I'm not, but it's just a cool shot and it's iconic and I want to be that. I'm sorry.
Yeah. You want to be the cool John Bender type, even if maybe you are a little more the nerdy type. But
wow, you're just gonna call it out. That's fair. I get it.
I mean, James does like play video games a lot, but totally a cool guy.
And so do I. But hey, I still want to wear fingerless gloves. So
you're literally sitting in a gaming chair right now.
Yeah, I am, and I'm proud of it. I don't care.
Yeah. Okay, if he could put a fist in the air for gaming chairs, he would. Allie.
Yes.
Who do you believe Carol would relate to?
Oh, Carol. Oh,
yeah.
I can't get Allison out of my head. The Breakfast Club for me is all Allison, of course. Yeah. Just like this show is only about the mother-daughter. That's it. Tunnel vision. But who would Carol relate to?
Yeah, who would Carol relate to?
Molly.
That's what I thought. Absolutely. Just very perfect, pristine. Yeah.
Yes.
I personally in my head, I'm nailing all of these.
Yeah, absolutely. It's Molly. Her name's Claire, right? I forgot.
Yes, Claire.
Yes. Yeah. It's Molly all the way. Yeah.
And Simone, I mean, you obviously don't have a character, but I am curious, did you love the Breakfast Club growing up? What was it like to work with Allie?
I did love the Breakfast Club growing up, especially as an addict. It's a great movie for that for some reason. I don't know why. But no, Allie is, amazing. And I could say all nice things all day. It'd be really boring and you don't want to hear it. But my mother loves Allie too. So it's also been really interesting to see, because I was a little worried, to be honest. But it all worked out. So yeah, no, Allie's amazing and a wonderful actor. And I can't say enough. Yeah.
The best.
I second that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Sasha, who would Britt see?
So I too grew up watching The Breakfast Club, and I don't know if I gushed enough with you, Allie, on set. I tried to keep my cool.
Oh, Sasha. Gush away.
I mean, Britt is interesting because I think on the outside she presents like Andrew, maybe kind of like the perfect go-getter, has to reach all the goals. But I feel on the inside, I want her to be like, is it Brian? Anthony, like the nerd on the inside, and she's not quite, Felicia, and she's not super cool like Garrick's character, and I think she's a cool blend of the two.
Yeah, and she's a doctor, so clearly
cool.
Yeah.
Now it's working. See, now everybody relates him with me.
Yeah, now everybody's like Garrick, James, both cool.
It's all mind games,
Uh-huh.
Everybody wants to be sincere. Don't do it.
And Lily, who would Felicia relate to?
I feel like it'd be kind of a crossbreed between the Judd Nelson character and the Molly Ringwald character. Do you know what I mean? She's definitely the one that wants to party on the weekend, and even probably when she was a teen was a bad girl. But also there's a part of her that would be able to put lipstick on with just her boobs, like she does in that movie. You know what I mean? So I think it's a crossbreed between both.
Yeah, no offense, Garrick, but I do feel like Felicia would be the cool John Bender-esque character.
We all knew that, but I wanted to take it first.
You have such a wonderful chemistry as a cast. It's so clear in the show. I'm curious what it was like shooting during COVID with different COVID protocols. I love the choice that the show doesn't really touch on COVID. I was like, thank you. I'm tired of that in TV shows. But what was it like actually trying to find that bond as a cast?
I mean, we were really lucky because we shot in Atlanta and we all sort of lived very close to each other, except Garrick. Even though we told him where to live, he didn't do it. But but we were all really close to each other, and we were getting tested so frequently that we were able to have dinners, and but we did, at least for me, we all sort of clicked right away and just really got along, which doesn't always happen. And yeah, I mean, it was just like really weird long days together, and it was hot in Atlanta, so we were all getting like sort of weird and giggly, and we got heat stroke, and it was just like a weird fun time, right, guys?
Yeah. Connecting thread is Sofia, though. Every single day, Sofia's there. Sofia is the one that keeps it going for all of us. I remember talking to Ali being like, I don't even know what you guys shot. Like, I don't even know what the show is like with you guys, because we don't get to see any of that. So it's, Sofia is the connecting thread to keep that energy going and keep that connection going. And she does such a beautiful, amazing job, even in the COVID era of things.
Yeah. I think you see those kind of connections. Sofia, you're amazing at kind of bringing the energy of every scene into just like every interaction. The mother-daughter connection that you have with Ali is just, to me, the heart of the show. The two of you are just so well paired together. I was wondering if the both of you could talk about what it was like to build that connection. I know that in the show they're both Jewish. You're both Jewish. You talked about that in an interview. How that brings what that brings to the characters. They're gonna edit that and make it sound like it made sense. If you could speak to that bond and if it relates to your own experiences.
Absolutely, it's my favorite thing to talk about with the show, because it's the heart of the show for me too. It was from the second I read it. Simone, I think, did such a beautiful job with this relationship. I think it's so honest. It's so passive aggressive. There's so much love there that neither of them really know how to properly share with each other. We're all, not all of us in this chat, but Simone, Ali, Jenny, and I are all Jewish. And so there's definitely some Jewish mother-daughter stuff in there that felt very specific to me and very truthful and honest. And working with Ali was an absolute dream. I wish that there was something I could talk about in how we built the dynamic, but the truth is, like, I looked at her for the first day and I was like, oh, this is going to be fine. And it just sort of worked. And we love pushing each other's buttons. Ali did this amazing thing. Every time we would get the scene on her coverage, when it would turn around on mine, she was like, I'm going to fuck with you 1,000,000 times harder than I did for the past hour. And just push me and needle me. And it was so fun. And I trust her and love her so much. And she's just the most present actress I've ever worked with you every step of the way, fully committed to the story, always wanted to do right by Simone, because obviously this is based on her real relationship with her mother. They have this hole in their family, this like sort of grief that lingers everywhere that also felt very nuanced and specific to me. So yeah, it's the thing that I looked forward to shooting the most. It was the thing that when I think back on the show, like always sort of made the through line of the show was Carol and Sam. So yeah, I love the relationship so much. And I have to say, just my mother and I have I would say a healthier relationship than this, but there are definitely moments where Ali and I both looked at each other and we were like, yeah, these are our moms.
I love that your mom's telling people like, but we're not like that.
We're not like that. Yeah. My mom's like, I'm her best friend.
And Ali.
Sorry, I also muted myself because there was a fire engine going by, but we're good now. I loved it. I mean, look, my whole storyline is what's going on with Sofia, right? I hope if we go on to another season, I really want to have some interactions with Garrick and with Lily. But I love the scene I had with Sasha, that was really fun. And I also was really happy on the day I had Rebecca, I had Rebecca with me.
She had me.
Sofia and I met in the van on the way to rehearsal in Chicago, right before we started shooting the pilot. So I had the same response Sofia did reading the script. I felt like, okay, this character is instantly alive for me. I am also a mom, so I can happily use all the flaws that come along with that in this character. So there's my mom, but there's a lot of my Allie mistakes in here, which are just fun. But the thing with Sofia, the writing's gorgeous. The writing takes you all over the place. I was very excited to see as we were going along, what's the next episode? Where are we going along? There's an arc during the first season. Things do not get resolved by the end of it, but we do shift into a different place. It's not the same thing over and over. And I was really conscious about that while we're doing, it's her whole first year of sobriety. So there's got to be some movement as I'm present with her, watching how she changes, even though I do not trust her or any of this. And there's all sorts of stuff that needs to get addressed. But as far as I'm concerned, it's her job to figure out how to do it. That kind of started coming in a little bit. I do feel like we went on a journey, but the fun thing with Sofia also is there is this trust feeling. I was not worried about Sofia. I was not worried about being mean to Sofia. I was not worried about going for different things. I felt, you felt this way. We were like this creative kind of weirdness. Then sometimes we'd improv off stuff. The Jewish thing is, it's a sense of humor. It's a kind of a thing. Do you know? Like Sofia, what's the thing with the holiday?
The coat.
Yes.
And you kept calling it sukkot.
Yes. Right.
Which is
we have a different
wrong.
way of, okay. That's fine. Although in my family, we do pronounce it differently. So it doesn't mean you're right, that's your pronunciation. I even looked it up phonetically, Sofia. I am correct. There are 2 ways of pronouncing it. I'm not wrong.
Anyway, that is special in and of itself, to have a scene partner that like the argument you have is about how to pronounce the code. Like that hadn't happened to me before this show.
Yeah. So yeah, it was fun and it was delicious. And I loved it. I really loved it.
It's really, really so special. And I love what you brought up about sort of the timing and pacing of it. Simone, I love the way that the show uses sort of the number of days each episode. Can you talk a little bit about how you factored that in? What sort of were the important steps and days that you really wanted to hone in on in the show?
Yeah, excuse me. So for me, I have a sobriety calculator on my phone to this day. I'll have 8 years and 2 months. And I thought, wouldn't that be an interesting sort of way to divide the season? And with every, the first one I think is 9 days and she can't sleep and she's basically in withdrawals, right? And then, we go 28, we go 60, like at all these days, her sobriety, she gets stronger. And so I wanted to show in a real life way that, if you can put days together, things do get better and they do change. Not right away, not, she's still working at the supermarket, et cetera, but I sort of wanted to, it was an easy way to show an arc in some ways. And I didn't know if it was going to work or not. I guess it has. But now I don't look at my sobriety calculator as much as I used to, but I should, I guess. But I think it was just a great way to signpost the first season. So
yeah. I think it works incredibly well. Does anyone else want to speak to that device? Or sorry, I thought I cut
it was super helpful for me because, we span so much time in these really, 22 episode, only 10 of them. Like it's this huge, incredibly, monumentous year in this girl's life. And so as an actress, it was so helpful to be able to like go back and just see like exactly where I am on this journey. And also of course have Simone there who lived this. And, we could talk about like really little things, even just like Simone's had energy levels of how your body is sort of changing from, day 9 to month 2 or whatever. And, I found it really, really helpful, just as a guideline of where we were.
Same. Yeah. I think it helps with our relationship as well, because being someone on the outside watching someone go through sobriety, and at first, our relationship is in this tumultuous place, and then it helped to have that time marker and talk with Sofia and Simone and everyone involved, and just see, okay, where would we be at this point? Okay, she's done these steps. Do I inch a little closer? And you see, Britt wanting that friendship back now that she's really back in town, and seeing changes in Sam's character that she probably hasn't seen before. This is the first time in the longest time Sam has been sober. And I thought it was really smart to do that, because it takes us on, all of us, on such a journey.
Yeah. Also, Lily, with your character, obviously being a mom, I think it's really curious how obviously this mother character cannot prioritize her friend. She has a child. And I thought I love the way that we kind of jumped to see, like, no, this isn't someone who can be there constantly to keep her entertained. What was your experience?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I was even asking myself in my mind, was I ever super conscious of the sobriety calculator with my choices? And to be honest, with the sobriety calculator, I wasn't, because I love my friend regardless, any hour of the day, 10 drinks in, no drinks at all. And so for me on the sobriety calculator, yeah, that it was interesting. I didn't make those choices, but yeah, seeing her, that was constantly a balance of all right, how do we figure this out, and also with a co-parenting situation, you do kind of get the nights off, and you do kind of get to have the fun, and okay, now I lost my train of thought. What was the question?
Just really if the sobriety calculator and the way that they portray Samantha's growth over the episodes, how you worked with that.
Yeah. And again, it's one of those things where as a single mom, she can't be there every second.
Yeah.
And you see that eventually kind of in the second half of the season. And again, with her, it was always just unconditional, regardless of if she made the mistake again or not.
Yeah, I love what you said. It doesn't matter the hour, the day. Felicia is gonna love her friend. A very cool John Bender-like answer, really. Sorry, Garrick. So Garrick, Sasha, I would love to talk about the experiences of bringing James and Britt to life. The show being set in Boston, I feel like a lot of people don't think Black people live in Boston, or it has a reputation of being kind of a white racist place.
No. Well, first, I want to say, just going back to the last question, I also thought it was really interesting watching how Olivia, Rebecca's character, was guiding Sam through like the calendar, because she uses different tactics, and she is giving. I mean, I'd be interested, Rebecca, how you felt, but I loved watching your character like give different steps, like, okay, now you make amends, but don't go too soon, I don't know if
and I also love when Rebecca gives her the chip, and it's like the most boring party, the just saddest party in the world.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of nice how our relationship starts out. I mean, in the first episode, Sophia's like, Sam's like, you're my only friend. And I'm like, I'm not your friend. But I found in the writing that over the course of the season, they did get closer and closer, and she becomes warmer and warmer towards her. I think she really sees a lot of herself in this little one.
Rebecca, do you think also that it had some, like, us getting warmer and warmer had something to do with the fact that we played every scene like we were flirting with each other?
Yes, we did sometimes. We did one scene where we're like, let's do this. And we really, it really helped.
It really helped.
I thought it would be an interesting storyline if like you became, it's like you fell in love with me. I don't know. I thought, yeah.
And that's what I was playing. I mean, I did. Yeah. That's the thing is like, I don't know if people, but it's like transference. I'm actually not joking though. Like when especially with like the takes that ended up being in the cut, I'm like, oh, that's when I was playing that I'm in love with her. Like there is, I don't know if other people will see it, but like in watching it, I'm like, me as a person, Sofia was falling in love with Rebecca as we were shooting. So there wasn't much I could do to stop it from coming out in the show. But I did play a lot of our scenes as if I was in love with you. And I think that it shows.
And like Olivia represents this very like consistent thing for you. And like, I didn't pay
and you're
attention
so
that
hot.
much. Yeah.
I didn't pay that much attention to the sobriety calculator because each of my scenes kind of like, they just were addressing a step, not specifically a step always, but kind of a step. And, you know, giving her tools and guidance as she went along her way. But yeah, I didn't pay that much attention. I mean, it just, my stuff is very much progressing through the 12 steps.
Yeah, and I also feel like Olivia is very much like living her life with her partner, and which I have a question about. We'll come back to that. But I am curious, Sasha and Garrick, about that experience. Garrick, especially, you know, with the sobriety calculator question, being a character, James, who's like further along in the journey, who's like developed some tools. There was just something about like the St. Patrick's Day episode where I was just like, I've been in Boston during St. Patrick's Day as a Black person, and I'm just like, I want to hide. So I was just curious about that experience for both of you.
Oh no, you go first, because that was very
I mean, we were like kind of thinking or kind of talking about like if James should have an accent and all of that stuff. And then all of my friends from Boston did not have an accent. The closest thing to an accent they had was a Caribbean one. So I was like, I'm not gonna do a Caribbean accent. I can't pull that out. I can't just be out there sounding like my dad at all times. It's not fun. But when we were doing that and like doing the research for what a Black Boston accent sounds like, the coach sent me a video of a Black cop. So I was like, I don't want to do that either. So it's fun. I mean, I don't know what else to say about it. The only other, you know, examples that I really do have is like the friends that I have that are out here, and they pretty much just say it's like, yeah, it's just pretty normal. You know, you run into racism every now and again, but for the most part, you just leave and come to LA, go to New York, whichever. So just be yourself.
Yeah. And with Brit, we do get this introduction of like the actual like rich like Caribbean culture that is in Boston. I love the scene in the wedding shop when they speak in Creole, and Samantha's like, I understand some of it. It's amazing. What was that experience like? What research kind of went into shaping that?
Well, I don't know if ironically, maybe kismet more so. I am Haitian American, as Brit is, and so knowing that my parents have such a strong Haitian accent, but I grew up in an area where that wasn't really reflected around me, I think Brit adapts more to the people that she hung out with growing up, right? Growing up with Carol as probably a second mother, and knowing Felicia on the side, and with Sam. But we have a lot of family in the city right next to Malden, Woburn. I think we talked about this, and there is such a present Caribbean culture in Massachusetts, maybe not in Boston proper, but definitely where we're based. So I think that I honestly kept it pretty close to me, and it was never a thing of putting on either a Haitian accent or a Boston accent. Excuse me. I think Brit would have neither. I think she would just be sort of trying to assimilate to as perfect an accent as she could adapt to, because she's always trying to, you know, be someone.
Yeah. Well, as someone who loves Boston, I just want to say I was just happy to see a show that's like, there's Black people in Boston. There's these rich cultures in Boston, okay?
They exist, and the food is good.
The food is really good. Boston is overlooked as a food city. Yeah. It's really good.
I mean, the Haitian food in Boston, but yeah, sure, Boston food.
Getting just a little bit more into the diversity, a little bit more of this Olivia Samantha tension. The show is very queer. It's very gay. Simone, I would love to hear kind of just like why that was important to get into the story. We see it with Samantha's character, obviously with Olivia. Rebecca, what is it like to sort of play with these funny tropes? I love the dynamic with her wife and their surrogacy journey that we kind of get to see in the way that they work together. The scene with them like packing the camping equipment was so funny. Just even little touches like that I love. So if you could speak to that.
I think they diffuse tension with baby talk. I think they're deeply in love. And yeah, I really liked playing a character, like a very successful, sober lesbian. I liked representing those two things, that a sober person, like for Sam, it's very good for her to see that a sober person can be this successful. And I think it's good for, you know, the community to see a very successful queer woman as well, just living her life with her wife, trying to make a baby. It's kind of not a big deal, except that they're incredibly dramatic and like codependent and like doing their thing. Yeah. Like straight couples.
Yeah, and I feel like abuse and addiction are obviously something that plagues the queer community, but usually in shows about it, it's very just like fun drug use, fun drinking. That's sort of just like, oh, we just like have wine and cocktails or drink a bottle of whiskey and it's fun.
Or then the lesbian has to die or something.
Yeah. Lesbian has to die, or there's like angry divorce and, you know, all this stuff that happens.
Right.
But here I was just like, oh no, it's funny. And so it's the sobriety is taken seriously here. So if you wanted to jump in on that.
Yeah, I'm bi, and for me, it was one of the first people that read the script was like, I don't know if the person who wrote this is gay or not, and I was like, that's funny because I'm bi. I don't know. I think that queer people are everywhere. Again, the same thing that there are Black people in Boston, there are queer people in Boston, there are queer sober people in Boston, and to some extent, in certain communities. Queer and trans, that addiction can hit harder sometimes. That's what I've learned going to AA in LA. And so I kind of wanted to show that a little bit as something that really does happen. So that was important to me as well.
Yeah. And Sofia, for Samantha, what can you, that is my favorite moment of the series so far. I haven't finished the show, but for me, I was like, yes, finally. So.
Sorry, which moment?
When she kisses the girl.
Oh, right, yes.
So, sorry, I should be specific. When it just got super gay. To be clear, when the series just gets super.
Got it. That was one of my favorite moments as well, because John Rigi, who directed that episode, came to set that day with this amazing plan of how to shoot it. And our show is, I think, shot in a very naturalistic way. You know, it's like a lot of handhelds, a lot of single cam stuff. And he was just like, but I want this moment to feel so special. And I want it to be more cinematic than the rest of the show. And so we had this kind of amazing tracking shot, and it felt so romantic and so beautiful. And I think this girl like doesn't get a lot of W's in this show. And that, like, I love the way that he shot it to really meet the writing, where this is like one moment that really works for her. And it's, I don't know, I was really happy watching it too, because I was just so happy for her that, because it just seems like, I mean, she just wants to get laid so bad and no one will fuck her. And I'm sorry, am I allowed? I curse a lot. I don't know if that's okay. Sorry.
They'll bleep it or whatever. Yeah.
Okay, great. No one will bang her. Is that worse or better?
Worse, way worse.
It's worse. Stoop her? Yes.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
No one will stoop her. And I think on top of everything else.
It's Sofia. It is stoop.
I'm sorry.
It is not stoop. Goodbye.
Maron. Okay.
Even I know that. Stopping.
Anyway, it's really nice to see someone just like go for it with her. And it also led to one of my favorite jokes in the show, which I think Garrick improvised, because once we shot it, there kind of became a joke on set about how we looked alike. And so Garrick improvised something about how I only liked her because she looked exactly like me.
Yeah.
Which really made me laugh. So yeah, I love that moment. I think it's so sweet.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's just speaking of that, Garrick, you're a hilarious comedian. You've done why do I want to say clusterfuck? That's
Clusterfest.
You've got like fuck on it's Clusterfest. And so we did a show together actually like a year ago. I was like, it all came to me. But I was like, what was it? I was curious what it was like bringing sort of that comedic talent to the set, that voice for improv with this character.
I mean, you come in and you're just like, oh man, I'm gonna be so funny on this show. I can't wait, I was gonna say the swear word. And then everybody else on the cast is funnier than you. And you're just like, okay, well, I mean, I got dimples, dog. Like, so your level like kind of comes down a little bit, and it kind of humanizes you, because as stand-ups, you're just like, I want to get the last laugh and all of that stuff. But that's not the character that I'm playing, or that's just not gonna happen because there are more talented people on the cast. So like, it was very fun to like kind of find jokes where I could. That's like. And the ones that they kept were very, like, it made me feel great to be like, oh wow, I kind of came up with that one. And then the other things that were just written that I could just kind of deliver felt very fun. So yeah, I mean, it was a really nice, really nice, fun learning experience.
Yeah, Lily got to be cooler and funnier than you. I'm so sorry.
Yes, I need to give the gloves to her, because I already bought a set and, whatever.
Oh, Garrick.
And then I have one last specific question, and then I just want to do a wrap up of everyone, what you hope the audience walks away from season 1 with, and what you kind of hope you get to cover in season 2. So think on that. And my last question for Allie, one of the things I love about Carol when it comes to sort of the empathy and community in the show is that we really get to see like her romantic journey. I just feel like we don't really get to see like older women live this way on TV, especially in comedies. What was it like to bring that storyline to life?
I felt like, okay, a woman in her 50s. I liked where Trayvon Free let me go a particular place with one of the scenes with him, which was not so funny. It was kind of heartbreaking. I felt like there was a lot of real stuff with Carol about the sexuality, about wishing I was 30 years younger before, having only been with this marriage and with the husband being ill. So it's like the first time all over again at my age. And at the same time, I also like the fact that I have the career. Carol's teacher. I have my house. My house now belongs to me. It's my house. And, here comes Sam into the house. But my life now, I'm the one who's running my life now. Or so I thought until she showed up. I like the idea of being able to be a woman in your 50s, late 50s. I'm 59, where I actually don't have to be with a man. So I have this back and forth with that storyline, right? I think it's really important to have that Carol with the sexuality in her late 50s. And at the same time, I still feel like there's nothing lonely and sad about a woman in her late 50s who just decides, you know what? I really like having my house to myself. I really like making my own decisions about my life. So there's you know what I mean? It's like, it's textured in there. It's not an easy answer.
Yeah, I'm as excited to watch Carol on her journey as I am Samantha's. It's great.
Yeah.
So we'll wrap up with this. Like I said, I gave you some time to think about it. What do you hope people walk away from season 1 with, and what do you hope we get to explore with season 2? I'll start with Lily.
I hope that people walk away with the fact that they're proud of this character, and that you get to see all the bumps in the road, and that you walk away just loving these characters and wanting to spend more time with them and dive deeper. I think there's so many deeper places for all of these characters to go. And in season 2, I mean, I would, from a Sam perspective, I'd love to see, Sam start to maybe lead someone else through the program. And with Felicia, we talked about sober curious. I'm like, because we do have to put a little bit of a magnifying glass on Felicia's drinking. So lots to explore there.
Ooh, I love that. I love how you interrogate your own character. Yes. Let's go with Sasha.
I think that people are already coming away from the show with what I hoped they would, which is that it's okay to laugh at the hard stuff. It's good for people. I want them to see themselves in Sam and in all these characters. And even though they're dealing with some tough stuff, I mean, life, even through the hard stuff, is kind of funny. And for season 2, it's funny, I was going to say that too, Lily. I actually thought it'd be really interesting to see Sam lead someone else through the program. But also, I'm going to call it, I think that I'm in love with Sam. And based on some curious posters in her, I think she's in love with me. So listen,
it sounds like every character just wants to date Sam. Yeah.
Felicia would, but she likes the D too much.
Yeah.
Loves the D. Felicia loves the D.
I want to see more stuff with Britt and Felicia. We have some fun coming up, and I think people would like to see more. I would. It was fun.
Yeah. Simone?
For me, I'm from like the sober standpoint, which is that no one is defective and anyone can change. And I really mean that. Like, I hope people come away with that. I've had so many sober people reach out to me on Instagram, actually, and it's like really amazing. And that's been a wonderful experience. So I hope we can, I know that this show entertains and that's its number one job, but I think it's also helping people on some level.
Yeah. And do you want to give us any hints on season 2?
Oh, season 2. I really want to delve into a little bit more of the characters' backstories, as well as, honestly, my big thing is trauma. Love trauma. Want to interrogate trauma. So that's me. It's very funny. It'll be very funny, I promise.
Okay. You're like, I'm terrified. What's she going to do to my character?
Terrified. It's going to be crazy.
Allie?
Well, obviously, I would love to be able to have some stuff now with Lily, Mae, and Garrick, right? See what happens with that. And Sasha, all of that. But all of that is only because of what's going on with Sam, with these people orbiting around. There's so much unresolved stuff with Sam and Carol. And I think we can go more into that. I don't think about things as being a year. For me, it's, okay, she stopped drinking. It's been 367 days. So what? There's no thing for me about that. But if she's going to go along like this, now she's probably going to start bringing things up, right? Because it seems like it's part of the sobriety thing. Like, you have to work through things. So that means suddenly I'm going to have to, because of this. Do you know? This program comes in and all of a sudden I feel like I, as Carol, suddenly have to deal with things that maybe we could have just closed the door on, but I can't. I'd also be very interested. Lily said it, and I hadn't even thought about Sam helping somebody else be sober. It's like, are you kidding? So no, but I want to see. All right, if that happens, I want to see who you are bringing around my house. All right, that you're going to be teaching something too.
No, I feel like you could be
going in my fridge, etc.
Yes,
etc.
yes.
So there's a whole bunch of stuff with that. I don't know. I'm just spinning here.
I feel like you could be nicer than to the sponsee than you are to Sam. I'm just kidding. Okay.
100%.
It depends on who it is. Do you know what I mean?
I love that. Garrick, other than, James having, a battle for Sam's heart with Britt.
Yeah. I mean, we could, play rock, paper, scissors, or some kind of game of wits or whatever over. But I don't know. I think that I hope people will walk away with the fact that being sober isn't unfun, and you can still actually do things. You can go out. You could just be sober in a bar, per se. And for the second season, I would love to see what their struggles are with alcoholism in the professional spaces. James is a tech guy, and see what he's, that's all pretty much smart sales, and what it's like to invite people out for drinks and then not drink, or put ginger beer in your champagne flute rather than actual champagne and stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh, as someone who worked in the tech industry, I would love to see that. Yes.
Yeah. Maybe, tech leads him into a Formula One car at some point. But I don't know. I mean, I'm just shooting my shot,
I love it. Rebecca.
so many things. I think, well, Samantha definitely has to get a sponsee because that's part of the thing. And then I become a grand sponsor. There's an IVF storyline for my character. So we have to see if a baby comes. I don't know. I also think it would be very interesting to see Olivia at her bottom, if there were flashback scenes, how like Olivia, how she pulled herself out, perhaps how she met Stefani. And I hope the show, in my community, there are a lot of people in recovery, a lot of sober people that I know. People know that that's a possibility, but I think there are a lot of people in this country that don't know that. And seeing this cool, beautiful girl go through everything she's going through could really, really help someone. I've gotten a lot of messages about that. And that's amazing.
Yeah. And finally, Sofia.
I think, I was so happy when you said that you felt like empathy was such a key component of the show, because I feel that way too. And I hope that people come away with more empathy from the show, whether it's for a person in recovery or for themselves if they're struggling. We've all, I think, all gotten so many beautiful messages from people that connect to different characters for different reasons. But I've personally really loved the ones from people that are more on the Al-Anon side of things. And this show has sort of given them a better understanding of the people that they're in relation to. So I think that's sort of another beautiful little outcome of the show. There are so many things I hope to accomplish with season 2, and so many things I'm excited about. As a big TV fan, I love bottle episodes, and I loved our bottle episode in season 1. And like Rebecca said, I'd love to see one for Olivia. My pitch from day one was always that we should have a bottle episode of Carol and Sam in family therapy, and the entire half hour is like in one room and they don't get anywhere in the entire episode and leave exactly as they came in. Because I agree with Allie, there's so many unresolved things in that relationship that I find really interesting, really funny, and really specific. I think there are things that Simone brought to this show that I haven't seen in other shows, and I'd love for us to dive more into those specificities, because I think that's sort of what makes the show special, and not feel like, like you said, like just another 30-year-old like girl who's like, I'm gonna do all this stuff. Like, I don't find that very interesting or funny. So I like when we sort of get into the weeds of these interesting dynamics more. I'd also be totally down for a Brit love story, totally down for an Olivia, bring it on. Sam's gonna go into season 2 very single and very available. I also would love for her to get a sponsee. I would imagine that both Olivia and Carol would like the sponsee more than Sam, which I think would be funny. There's so much stuff. Simone did such a great job. There's such like a beautiful world here, and I love these characters very much. So
yeah, I think that has been on display today. I want to thank you all for joining us. I want to thank 92Y for putting together this XYZ event. The show is amazing. Single Drunk Female. It airs Fridays on Freeform, and you can also watch it on Hulu. There are 2 episodes left by the time you're watching this. So get ready for that finale.
Whoa.
It's such a good show.
Thank you so much, Ashley.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.